Hello and happy Thrifty Thursday. I get to show you this week what I was able to snag at some yard sales that we went to on Saturday. Not all of it is junk journal related, but all of it is quite vintage and fun. And it's not a terrible amount of stuff. It's just a small haul, but I wanted to show it to you nonetheless. We started off going to a yard sale that looked like the people who had it at one point had an antique booth. And so some of their prices were still on there, and I couldn't tell if they were prices from the antique store or for the yard sale. And I didn't want to start asking about things that I knew I really didn't care that much about. But when I got over to the books, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to have the uncomfortable conversation of price. So I was able to just bring these up to her in a stack of 3 things that I found, and she let me have all of them for $2. So I got away really well with a great deal in that respect, because these are very old items. The first thing was this verb wheel. And you know, I stood there and looked at it, and I was reading all of these things and all of these things and completely skipped over the fact that it said French. But I was like, why does this not look familiar? Like, I just couldn't figure it out. And my husband was like, this is a French verb wheel. And I was like, oh. But yes, I had seen these before, and I don't know how old this is. It has a price tag that says University of Toledo Bookstore. But again, I don't know how old it is. I'm guessing 60s, but I could be wrong. It could be older. And I don't know how I would put this in a junk journal unless it was a large one that I could put down on a very large page or tuck it into a pocket in the front. But nevertheless, it is a cool piece of ephemera, and I'm excited that I was able to grab it. So that was the first item. And then there are I got 2 very old books. This one looks like some sort of a gift book. December 25th, 1946, to Bessie from Emma Gilman. And let's see if the date is the same as what, it's got that beautiful gold ink. Can you see that in the light? It doesn't have a publication date, but it's probably around 1946 if it was given around that time. It could be a little older, but yeah, I thought this was so beautiful. Just a few little pages, and it's just stitched down the middle, kind of like the way we make our mini books for our journals. But the pages are super thick and somewhat glossy, and so yeah, I loved it. I had to grab it. And of course, the covers would make, they're not as thick as a normal chipboard, but they would make a very cute journal, front and back cover. And then I feel like every junk journaler has a copy of this book, but I had not found one yet. Apples of Gold. And I think this is a book that's been republished and republished and republished for decades. In fact, I just saw the same book in a thrift store a few minutes ago, published in the 70s. But this one in particular was published in 1894. It is literally crumbling. There are pages just loose in here. Let's see if the 1889, originally 1894. So this is the 1889 printing. And very thin, very brittle pages, but the that's interesting. It has like records in the front like a Bible would have. And then it's got these engravings or pen and inks. And then in the front, I guess it looks like sort of a daily poetry or quote. And then you've got apples for children, and then just words of wisdom, I guess, for every station in life. But yes, I was excited to snag this and find it. The cover, I think, would be okay as a cover. The spine is in rough shape. It's literally coming apart, but I think I could salvage the front and back cover, and that would make a very nice sized antique junk journal cover. So those were my first finds of the day. And then we went to another yard sale, and it was starting to rain. And so the people who were giving it appeared to be the grandson of the lady who lived in this house. And he looked like he was my age. He was probably in his 40s. And he looked like he was over it and ready to go inside and get rid of all of the stuff that was left. So he just let me have a little shopping bag and said, fill it up for $3. So I found on this little box on the ground, just tossed in there with a bunch of pins, I found these beautiful embossed little note sheets. I thought that would be, I don't know if it's the type of, you know who I'm talking about, the lady who does the embossed note cards. I don't know if these are hers or just a copy, but I don't have anything like this in my collection. So, and then this is, I remember when these came out, I think these were used by teachers to send little notes home, if I'm remembering correctly. But this is just the cutest little gingerbread notepad. Gingerbread man. And then I found these. So I've been on the hunt for old vintage alarm clocks for a while. Not that I want to use one. I think it would absolutely terrify me to wake up to this, but I wanted them just as something just to set on a shelf for decoration. So I found the Big Ben and the Baby Ben by West Clocks, and I have no idea if they work or not. I haven't even tried to wind them, but since it was grab what you can for $3, I just tossed them in as well. Oh, it's got a soft and a loud little switch at the top. Okay, and then the lady who lived here was obviously a seamstress, and so there was this little Rubbermaid type shoe box, and I just threw this in the bag as well. And so in here we have a bunch of vintage looking buttons. And then in here we have a bunch more buttons. I remember, do you guys remember these little buttons? I think my mom had a trench coat with little oblong buttons on it like that. I can't wait to go through that. They look mostly brown and beige and white, but maybe there's some fun colors in there. And then we have just a little container with some thimbles in it. There's a lot of stuff in here from Grant's Fabrics, and I don't know anything about this chain. I don't know if it's local. If you know anything about Grant's Fabrics, let me know. I thought this was funny. It's those little googly eyes, some large ones. So she must have made some dolls or something, maybe for grandkids. And then here's another Grant's Fashion Fabrics container, and then in here we have some needles and the little repair threads for sewing on buttons. And there's some metal bobbins in here. This is a little baby food container with a bunch of snap fasteners and hook and eyes. And then there are 2 pin cushions. I actually don't think one of these is enough, so now I have 4. But I use pins for so many things, and so now I can just stick these anywhere where I use straight pins. And then, I don't know what this is, but it's some sort of a straw trim. Just a lot of random things. Here's a tape measure with Grant's on it. And another tape measure. I don't think this one has a name on it. And then an old clothing tag that she's wound some yarn around. We have a needle book from the A&P that's really cool. I did not know the A&P had stuff like that at one time. And then some sewing machine needles. Just lots of random cool stuff. Of course, more thread. I keep saying I don't need more thread, but I actually go through it rather quickly. So I do use vintage thread in my sewing machine. I just make sure that I clean my sewing machine pretty regularly because it does produce more lint. And then we have another seam ripper and pattern marker and another clothing tag. Yep, just little notions. And it's funny that she kept this with just that little bit of thread on it, but my grandmother would have done the same thing. And some of these, I'm going to try to use my heat gun and get the labels off. I don't know that I'm going to be able to fit all this back in there, so I'm about to put it all where it goes, so I will just leave it like this for now. And then as I was leaving, oh, I got this as well. It's one of those little juice glasses that probably had jelly in it at one time. My children are way too old for this type of glass, but honestly, I just like to keep a lot of different fun glasses in the cabinet to grab, and thought that was a precious one. And then on my way out, I said, how much for this book? And he said, just throw it in the bag with your other stuff. So I got the Quotable Billy Graham, beautiful blue cover, and then it's got some presentation things inside, and then Billy Graham's quotes on just about everything you can imagine by alphabet letter. So that was fun. Yeah, those were my yard sale finds this week. I was excited to be able to go out. Even the weather just has been really weird lately, and we've been having a lot of rain on Saturdays, but people are just ready to get rid of stuff, and so for the most part, the yard sales are still going on, and I'm thankful for that. So thank you for joining me today. If you would like to see more Thrifty Thursday videos, please look at the link in my description box. Sheree at Turquoise Dreaming has a rundown of all of the participants every week, and you can see what other people have found as well. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.